Welcome back to Stationeers, and I just wanted to go through a few points on a recent update. My FPS at the moment is around 70, and I have a new setting that's available on beta branch. It's the chunk render distance all the way maxed at 300. Its default is 150. So if you are on the beta branch, and it is a wonderful place to be, they're full of explosions and interesting bugs, then well, you can't see it right now because it's nighttime, but you do play around that slider and you may get some better performance going for yourself. So this episode, aside from that, I actually want to get going with some updates that have been made with regard to our furnace setup, and then we'll get onto some power saving setup over there. But let's start with the furnace setup first of all. So down here, I do like the sound effect for the elevator or lift. There we go. So down here, as you remember, we created this setup whereby we've got a batch reader, which is addressing lots of slot readers. But these slot readers, they're pretty much all the same. They're set to each furnace's slot. Okay? However, now I think there is a batch slot reader. Let's just see if it's available in our game. Let me just grab you, otherwise I'll have to replace this, but let's just grab you. And hopefully you're here as well. Batch slot reader, there we go. So we want the input. Oh, I've got to figure out which way the input is now. I think it's going to be the same direction that it was previously. Where's the... This is the data bus, is it not? That was the data bus. But we don't need that anymore. So, interesting. Well, let me just connect it this way to start off with. And what we actually want to read is the arc furnaces slot. So let's just change over to our screwdriver. And we want to read the everything available as a slot reader. Yeah, it's because of this. So we're going to have to rearrange things a little bit. Let's just grab a U. Let's just clip these two pieces off. And then that as well. And then we should be able to just replace this with a regular corner that goes this way. And a four-way junction that goes this way. At least for now. You know, we can also tidy up later. Okay. Now can we actually read more than this? So let's get a look at there. Yep, we can read the arc furnaces. And this is going to be the export slots batch reader. So this is going to be the import slots. Is that right? Yeah, import. Import slots. And then we want the occupied. Then we want to turn it on. And then we want to choose what we want. What do we have here? Maximum. Yeah, maximum. And that should be set up. And then all we need to do is get this to read that. So batch slot reader, we're going to have to rename it probably. So let's just rename that import batch slot reader. Is import right? Yeah. Import batch slot reader. Put that away. And then on this one, we just need to choose the input. So input or import batch slot reader. Import batch slot reader. That will activate the furnaces. So now we don't need all of this because this cable right there is connecting to the furnaces. So we only need 1, 2, 3, 4 for all furnaces. Much improved. So these are all 10 watts each, I think. So that's 40, 80 watts saved. This is going to be a power saving episode. 80 watts saved once I convert both of them over. I quite like that idea. I will do the rest off camera, but you get the idea. In fact, this will be quite a good improvement. Okay, let's take a look at the next thing that we can do, assuming that all works, of course. What I may well actually also do is put a switch just to manually hit activate somewhere, probably upstairs somewhere, and just so that if anything jams, we can always just push a button rather than go and diagnose it downstairs. Oh, actually, there was one more thing down there, but I need to make sure equipment to demonstrate it first. So what I think has happened, I think it's been broken by the change I mentioned last episode. I was going to do some more sorting stuff this episode, but power seems more useful to just follow on from our solar panels. So we've got these sorters, and we've got the stackers, and the unloading feature, I think now, after a commenter said something, is more the ability for a stacker to separate a thing from its contents, like for example a mining belt from, let's just, are there any ore in here? No, let's just grab some view and some of view. A mining belt from its contents, and then unloading it on the other side. If that's true, then the system will probably, if it doesn't unload, it will just move this mining belt all the way through the system and dump it without, oops, I need to go upstairs to actually, without actually separating from its contents, which means we need to rebuild a small part of that downstairs, but not a very large part. So if we just grab our belt as it is, pop it into the system and pull the chute bin thing, that should go through the system and come out the other end. Now, if it's still working fine, we should end up with, I guess, this mining belt, but no ores. Yep, see? It's no longer working. Okay, so bear in mind that this is only something if you are on the beta branch. It may not affect you if you're on the release branch just yet. So I don't think it's a very large change. I just think we need to change that first stacker to an unloader. And then that should continue to work. Assuming all the connections are the same. I don't think we're doing anything else in here. You see, this stacker size, it doesn't really matter. The only problem I would have thought maybe... No, it's not really a problem. So if we just put bare ore up there in that chute bin, instead of putting the mining belt in there, then when this used to come into here, it used to jam if it wasn't a multiple of 10 because it would have like 4 or 5 left behind or something. Now, I wonder what an unloader will do to that. It may just pass through, and if that's the case, well, it certainly passed through with a belt, so I would expect the same thing to happen anyway. So if that's the case, then it will just route to one furnace instead of trying to split it among multiple. I'm okay with that because I'll generally want whatever the stack size is to occur normally. So let's just deconstruct that stacker for a second, and then we're going to change to unloader. That's interesting. Oh no, it's the same size, it's fine. We just need to rotate it. There we go. So stacker, unloader. Not sure why they're shifting in place, but it's a slightly different model. Yeah, just a slightly different model. So it doesn't have a wheel on the side. So if I just try and fit it here, it's quite nice. Yeah, so it looks visually distinctive. Good. And we can turn that on. And now, if I go up there, we'll actually process things. Now, it may not, I don't think we may process silicon, I'm not sure. But in any case, what we should get at the other end is all the components separate now. Where's that belt gone? Let's just go over here, pop you in here, pull handle, and let's see what comes out. Okay. Oh, ores, good. And a belt. And silicon's probably gone another way. Maybe. Let's see what's in here. Yeah, it's all been emptied anyway, so I don't care about what happens to the silicon. As long as it's working, that much is fine by me. It's probably queued up into a stacker somewhere or gone into overflow, or I'll figure it out later. I think I may well have silicon sort of semi-set up. I need to remember what to do there, but that's fine. Oh, it's dawn, so let me just quickly cover a change up here. Now, do you remember last episode I did all this setup? And I had an extra pair here. That extra pair did a multiply by -1. So I've removed that now because the only thing I needed to do, and I suspected in the episode, I think I may have mentioned it at one point, but all I need to do is shift the sensor from that side of the block, on the side that the sun is on, to the opposite side of the block, to the side of the sun that isn't. So that is, the sun is inclined that way. So if you have the theta sensor, face it away from the sun as far as the horizontal side, and the phi sensor will face sunrise. Okay. Now, bearing that in mind, that may well depend on your solar panel orientation. So in my case, that's when all of the data panels, all the data sections of the solar panel are facing sunrise and the power are facing sunset. That will work for you just fine. And then there's this gap, which I'll move probably these up a little bit. to fix, or unless we actually do the other setup, which is to correct for dawn and dusk issues. But that's fine. So what I wanted to do then, in addition to that, is to switch off this power to all of those chips when it's nighttime, because I think we figured out last episode it was something like 245 watts or something. I've now got one less math unit, so that will be 220 watts. But we don't need that during the nighttime. In fact, during the nighttime, all that happens is the same cycle repeats. These face the sort of dawn direction, the east. At dusk, they all flip around, go through the same rotation, and at dawn, they flip around again and go through the same rotation. So we don't actually need for them to do anything at dusk to dawn, only dawn to dusk, if that makes sense. So to do that, that's relatively simple. We need to make a piece of equipment first. I don't think I have any spare transformers, and that's generally what I use for this. We may be able to use a power controller as well, but I want to say transformer to use this. So are you in here? Kit, I want a small transformer. Yeah, there we are. Small transformer. What do you need? Iron, gold, and copper. Okay, gold. I've got 1 gold left. Okay. And copper. Fair enough. And lastly, some iron, which is probably in one of these. Yeah. There we go. Put that in. Let's get a transformer built. That won't try and build a second one because I'm out of gold. I think actually the furnaces are jammed at the moment anyway. I've got some issue with them I'm going to need to sort out. It's not a major issue. It's just that sometimes some ore will end up in one of the furnaces and it won't be activated even when I want it to be activated. So that's something I need to take care of. Maybe with an unjam button or something like that, or just react to whether this is on and off, and then use that to then... that'd be interesting, actually. Because we could always, if we switch this off whenever we leave, whenever we switch it on, it will try and activate whatever's left in the furnaces, and that might be a good option to do. So we could just put a couple of logic units back here, something like that. Yeah, I'll give that a go in a second. Let me just, first of all, get this transformer. So... straightforward thing to do first of all is just to hook up the transformer by cutting a hole in our equipment. Here seems fine, and then we want the transformer this way around, and we want it to increase to 500 watts should do, and it'll work. Perfect. Now the transformer can be controlled remotely, so what we can do, if I have a I/O, and probably I don't have an I/O. Do I have any I/O? No, I don't have any I/O. They probably take gold. Wonderful. So I'm going to need more gold regardless. But what we're going to do is go and read these sensors. We don't need any additional sensors here. What we should be able to do is have an I/O whose input is on this side. But it's very important that you don't link that input to either the power or the output if we have a chip here. It needs to absolutely be input only, okay? That's very, very important. And we're going to read the sunlight property on these. They say whether it's daytime or not. We can use that, we can read it, write it back to the transformer as its on state. So whenever it goes to sunlight, it will switch the transformer on. And whenever it's nighttime, it'll switch the transformer off. But you mustn't ever link this cable to this cable. Otherwise, we'll have a lot of issues. So just bear that in mind too. And I'm going to go and fetch some stuff and sort of diagnose this issue. Let me just have a look around, and then we'll be back to install that and get it working. And while it's sunlight, and I'm going to head out to just do some mining, I did want to just cover this whole render distance thing. So you can see I can not only see this hill, which is nearby, but the hill beyond it, and the same thing in this direction. I can see that, which is the secondary hill. We've got quite a large render distance, and I am still sort of around 60 FPS, but it's a little bit of, oh no, maybe. Yeah, 73, 75, but the slight changes. So if we just head out here, I'll see how my performance differs. Yeah, it's still okay. You know, still 80. I think the major sort of render thing is when we get near the buildings. So out here, obviously, it is very, very nice terrain now. Yeah, very nice terrain. No holes, no problems with that. I'm much happier about it. And of course, I can see the buildings if it's daylight. Not necessarily at nighttime, though. That is the downside. In any case, I'm out here just looking for a little bit of gold to carry on building for everything else. And I will leave you here and we'll come back for the electronic stuff. Okay, fine. So I didn't strictly need to go mining to get some I/O chips. We no longer should need these, I don't think. I'm sure if I do, then I can always rebuild it. I'll leave the cables in for the moment, just in case there's any further updates. But that'll do me just fine as far as getting these are concerned. And let's head upstairs. And let's get this sorted. So we're going to need to read the value of those sensors first of all. And we're going to be able to need to read that during the daytime as well as the nighttime. So yeah, we're going to need to power this from... In fact, let me just put the writer in first, because that's probably the easiest one to place. Logic writer can go right there, I think. Yep. And then the reader can go here. Logic reader. Yep. So the power for all of this needs to come from down here. And indeed, since this is the output and this is the input, then the cabling should be quite simple. So if we just grab some cable and connect those two, that is that sorted. We're going to put a corner in to connect those. And let's actually put one there. Oh no, that can't be a corner. Yeah. That needs to be a junction. So let's get the junctions. There we go. 1, 2. That can be just a straight piece. And this can be a corner. And then we just have to disconnect this again. So if we just disconnect you. And put a junction back in. There we go. That's it as far as... Oh no, we actually just need to connect the input up there as well. So that needs to be a corner. Just go upwards here a little bit. There we go. Turn it that way. Cut you off for a second. And that should be that. Okay. So, yeah. Definitely no connection between this line anywhere and any of this stuff. Okay? Just to be doubly clear, you do not want that to happen to your base. Let's grab there. Okay, so very simple setup. Just grab our screwdriver and we're going to read, I guess we want the phi, but it doesn't really much matter. We want the daylight sensor phi. Yeah, and let's read the interesting. Is it the on sensor? Question mark? I'm almost sure these things had the daylights, because we can get grid sunlight out of them, but that doesn't seem to be available. In any case, let's read it regardless and see what we actually get out of it. And I'll see if there's any way of reading that. Maybe it's a slot reader, but that would be very odd. It's entirely possible it's not available to electronics anymore. If so, then yeah, that'll be interesting. In any case, we can read that and use that setting to connect to the transformer. And we want this to be named something, if we can. So let's just grab our... There we go. And rename you to be the solar chips transformer. Okay. And that's done. Oh, the other thing, by the way, if you do want to actually move these to different locations, you can now. It's very nice. Can't really always lock them back in the same location. Now they appear right to the top of each other. Okay, so you can reset all the positions to default, I think, with that button, but also in the panels as well. Yeah, there they go. They nicely stack again now if you want them in the same location. Fine. So that means I just want to write to the transformer, solar chips transformer. and I want to write to the on state, I want to say. That should be on at the moment because we're reading from this. So we should be able to immediately see if I can get the right thing because all the chips will shut off. So change to mode. Okay, its mode is 0 at the moment. Activate? Activate seems like something, if we're reading from a daylight sensor, maybe that's the actual thing. I was hoping it would be labeled something nice, but if it's not, then maybe that will fix it. In any case, if that does fix it, then that will work because at sunrise, all the chips will come active. And it's no harm to us right now. You'll see that halfway through the nighttime rotation, all the chips are off around here. We're down to just 20 watts for these two chips. That's unavoidable. I don't think that we can read directly into a writer. For a switch, for example, you don't need a reader for a switch because it only has one property, on or off. Whereas these have multiple properties, so we're never going to be able to get rid of it all. However, hopefully that will solve the problem. Let's wait till dawn and see if this thing activates. While we're waiting for dawn, I was also in this episode going to do the same thing for that circuitry downstairs. I was going to, let's just pop downstairs, run off that switch on the on-off switch on the chute bin. And you see around here, the sort of cabling comes down from upstairs. There it is. You see there's a power controller right there. What I was considering doing, and because we may not need these lines anymore, we should be able to reclaim a whole lot of cable, is to put another transformer in probably on the ceiling here where we are and doing the same thing down here. But instead of looking for sunlight, just looking for the state of that switch on the chute bin. Now, I'm not going to do it on camera because it's useful to do anyway. I guess we'll save a little bit of power. You know, it's two logic I/O chips, and then everything else will shut off down there. So if anything is idle, yes, we will save a little bit of power. And of course, we're always going to want to turn this on before we start to put stuff into it to be processed. So that, I think, will be quite useful. In any case, it'll save a little bit of power, and it's fully automatic to our process. It doesn't require any other steps than what you'd normally expect, so that is good by me. Have you switched it on? You have. So yes, it's just the activate state. So now that it's sunrise, we're now going to take up more power, 220. You see they're all rotating. Here they come. And they're all perfect. So we've got this power only being used during the day, when of course we've got lots of excess power. Which means it isn't a power drain at night. We don't have a 200 watt device on our network, essentially, at 220 watts, and that's pretty good with me. And we can do the same thing with other things too, so, you know, processing centers or hydroponics or anything else, we can control in that same way. We can just remote control the transformer. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there for this episode. We're, around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. Power saving controls, very useful, and in fact I need to disconnect these now. We no longer need those. So that'll give me even more things I need before actually going to get other stuff. So you can come out, so can you, and so can you. And in fact, I can clean up all that cable now. I'm much happier now I can do that. In fact, we don't even need that sensor. It's not even connected to anything anymore. Whoop, away you go. And we're doing, I think that's pretty much it. The logic memory doesn't take any power. So yeah, the rest is just cable cleanup, and you don't need to see. I mean, aside from satisfaction, maybe to people who, like me, like to have these things cleaned up, you don't need to see that on camera, do you? Hopefully not. Otherwise, I'll be snipping with clippers for a good 5 minutes. In any case, that's all nice and power saving now. Cool. So from here on my world, I don't think, to space these out any. I think because it is so little of an inclination, I don't have the problem. But do remember on yours, you don't want shadows from one affecting another one. That does actually happen, if I remember correctly, from season 1. So, you know, feel free to space them out further. In my case, I can just extend this up to the limit of that heavy cable now. That I think is a, what is its limit again? Is it 100 kilowatts? I think it's 100 kilowatts. And that, of course, will keep our batteries quite happy. We can extend our battery array pretty much indefinitely. I just needed lots more gold, and that just means a mining trip or two. One other thing I wanted to say just before we finish the episode is that I didn't mention it last episode, but the gas generator A few people have been asking me to build a gas generator. Here it is. I mean, we can take a look if you like. It's let's just rotate it. It's quite a nice thing. Engine, turbine, cool. But the slight problem with the gas fuel generator requires an atmosphere of 20 kilopascals at 278K to 328K. So if you're going to use this thing, you're going to need to have it in an atmosphere. Now, of course, we do have a nice atmosphere over there that is just fine, 328K, so that's up to 60 degrees or thereabouts. And 278K is just above freezing, so yeah, our atmosphere in there will do us just fine if you want it. So your atmosphere, your hydroponics bay will do it. But of course, this uses up, and this is something I've not really mentioned on camera much, as to why I'm not doing certain things. For example, I'm not using up resources when I don't have to, because one, I have to go mine stuff. So if it was on a multiplayer server where someone was just out there mining all day, it would be beautiful. I could just do anything I want, but I need to be able to get a video out to you quite quickly. So I'm not necessarily doing things. I'm optimizing for things that are renewable. So solar energy is free on this planet. Carbon dioxide is free. So both of those are very useful in various different ways. But things like hydrogen and oxygen, well, oxygen is technically free. We can run it through hydroponics and get the plants to actually just do that, because we can just put ferns in and not harvest them, and that'll give us free oxygen. But hydrogen isn't at the moment. You can split it from water, but then water isn't. So it's not like I have an infinite lake a la Minecraft out here somewhere, and it's too cold anyway. But well, it's not too cold now, but I suspect the pressure may have. Oh, that's a good point. Do we have any qualified physicists as opposed to amateur physicists listening? What happens to water at this low pressure? I've got a feeling it will boil a lot earlier, but I don't know what happens to the freezing point. It's 20 degrees Celsius, but we're at 3 kPa, so very, very little pressure. So yeah, I think it would be liquid at this particular temperature and pressure, but that's just a guess. In any case, we don't have infinite lakes regardless, so I can't really do anything about that. So water and hydrogen, well, in fact, water, I guess, because you can always get hydrogen from water, are sort of my limits, and the things that I always need to go and basically gather. What does the atmosphere contain? If we run a huge array, can we pull in, because there's obviously free CO2 in the atmosphere, but there are other gases. Atmos analyzer, let me just drop that for a second. Let's just see what the other gases are. Could we just gather infinite hydrogen by lots and lots of this? So let's just swap it over for a second, and let's see what we've got. O2 and nitrogen. Yeah, so there seems to be no way of me getting hydrogen for free, albeit with lots of processing. We can certainly get oxygen for free, but so little of it that, yeah, I'm not sure whether we should do it that way at all. Hydroponics seems far more efficient, given that we can just pipe in carbon dioxide. So, yeah, that for now at least, but they are making lots of updates to the game, so I guess, they are saying that you do need to mine at some point, but yeah, it'd be nice to have a complicated process where I can transform maybe a more complicated gas. We've got X there. What is X? It doesn't really tell us what it is. But if we follow their development path, they're making things with food at the moment, which means you can process ferns into various different medical stuff. So that's very much on the beta branch. It'd be interesting if we had more complex substances, more complex gases that we could break down with processes to get our hydrogen. And maybe they're in the atmosphere, maybe not. Maybe we could set up some automated process or something, kind of mine well or something along those kind of lines. Just basically lots more complexity, please, developers. Plenty of things to get our systems sort of head stuck into. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. Next episode, we'll be moving on probably back into sorting again, because we've got that pretty much sorted. If you do want to see the extra bit to correct for Dawn and Dusk, do let me know in the comments, but otherwise I'll assume you just watch the Season 1 version. If you do, pay attention to the comments in that video. The comments make it a bit more efficient, or perhaps a lot more efficient than I did it. There's a few shortcuts with the maths there that will get you the right answer. Mine does, but not as efficient. Alright, feel free to like, subscribe, share if you've enjoyed the episode. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.